intermittent, but the same signature from the other GoPro Max as well. That if I power it off, even when I leave it plugged in, so I don't think it's a battery issue, it defaults or it comes back on into regular video, not 360 video. So I think we just need to ensure it's in 360 video every time we power it on.
Jeremy, thanks for doing all that troubleshooting for us. That sounds like a working plan for now, and we'll see what other troubleshooting we can do on our end. Thanks.
Okay, the one thing that would make that easier for us and to help prevent us from making a mistake is if we mount it such that the screen is facing the working volume of the vehicle. The procedure suggests having the screen face the bracket, but since it's 360 video, I'm wondering if that really matters.
Copy, Jeremy. Yeah, you are welcome to mount the screen facing the volume if that is your preference.
Okay, that's what we'll do.
This is Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, counting down to 1 hour until translunar injection burn time of ignition. On the left, the data visualization you're seeing is ARROW, the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website. If you look closely, you can see we are now under 10,000 miles away from Earth. That will continue to decrease until we get to 115 statute miles above our home planet. That'll be the closest the crew is to the planet until they return for their splashdown on flight day 10. The translunar injection burn will be a firing of the OMS engine on the European Service Module, OMS standing for Orbital Maneuvering Service Engine. That burn targeted for 6:49 p.m. Central Time and will last 5 minutes and 49 seconds. We're now over 24 hours into the mission elapsed time. To be specific, we are 1 day and 13 minutes since the launch of Orion atop the SLS rocket yesterday in Kennedy Space Center. This is the first flight of crew aboard Orion, and it is a test flight. Since this time of launch, the crew has been in a high Earth orbit. Spending this time in a high Earth orbit has allowed teams to check out all of the systems aboard the spacecraft, being that this is the first time we've flown Orion with crew, allowing us to make the decision on whether or not we are go for translunar injection, which will send us around the moon and commit us to splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. The mission management team here at Johnson Space Center in Houston confirmed this morning that yes, we are go for translunar injection burn. The crew aboard Orion continuing to work in preparation of that burn, and teams here in Mission Control Houston doing the same. On the bottom right of your screen, at the top of the small box, you see Flight Director Jeff Radigan. He is leading the teams here in Mission Control, specifically the Orbit 1 shift. Down towards the bottom of that smaller box are at the Capcom console. Capcom today is NASA astronaut Chris Birch. She is communicating with the crew aboard Orion, serving as the single voice in the room, relaying information and instructions to our astronauts. To her right is Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jenny Gibbons. She is a backup for the Artemis II mission and a Capcom herself. Now under 1 hour until the translunar injection burn.
Integrity. SM prop helium isolation valves and optocoupler glitch fitter are configured.
Copy, and we see the same on the SM prop valves. And timeline/Optimus question for you when convenient.
We'll take it, Christina. Go ahead.
Thank you. In our PCD Optimus plan options, we now see a Flight Day 2 final V2. Is that the one that you'd like us to be on?
Yes, Christina, that's the one.
Copy that. And question, if we put crew notes on a previous plan, like the Flight Day 1 plan, after these plans were uploaded, but before we switch to them, will you still get those?
Christina, that's a great question. We're going to investigate and get back to you on that.
Copy, thanks.
Integrity Houston, 2 minutes to DSN to TDRS West handover.
Integrity.
This view on your screen coming from the Orion spacecraft And that call from the crew, or from the Capcom here, Chris Birch, to the crew aboard Orion, letting them know they are going to be switching over from the Deep Space Network to TDRS, Tracking Data Relay Satellite System. This is the same communication system that we use aboard the International Space Station, and we're able to use this right now because the crew is getting closer to the Earth as we speak. Orion is now about 8,600 miles away from our home planet, and again, that will continue to decrease until the TLI burn, now 55 minutes away. At the lowest point of their orbit, they will be just 115 miles above Earth when that burn begins. And we are handing over to the Tracking Data Relay Satellite System. So we're back to that visualization. The Artemis Real-Time Orbit website, also known as ARROW. You can access this at any time by visiting nasa.gov, searching for ARROW. This gives you a great time, day or night, to see where Orion is in relation to the Earth and the Moon. It's been about 4.5 hours since the Orbit 1 team that's working in Mission Control Houston came on console. At that time, we were 25,000 miles away from Earth, and you can see how rapidly we continue to grow closer to the planet. The crew woke up at about 1:35 p.m. Central Time today and has since been moving through their timeline, which included setting up the exercise device, Commander Reed Wiseman using that flywheel exercise device for the very first time. The crew has also been filling water bags. There was a water valve issue yesterday. It has since been resolved, and the crew was able to use the water dispenser as planned. However, this is, again, precautionary ahead of the translunar injection burn to go ahead and get some water out of those 4 tanks aboard Orion.
Integrity com check on TDRS West.
Loud and clear on TDRS. How us?
We have you the same. And Christina, while I have you, with our proximity to TLI, we'd like you and Victor and whoever else is working on the water bag ops to please stand down, and we will focus on our TLI prep. And also please confirm that you are complete with exercise.
Okay, we copy. Victor did get a tiny bit in, but he is standing down, so we are complete with exercise. We also stood down from water ops. Looking forward to TLI.
Houston, one clarification on exercise when you got a second.
Go ahead, Reed.
Hey, Victor is deferring his exercise for now, just due to time in the water bag. He was our lead water bag filler, so we will want to get him exercise this afternoon, please.
Copy. We will find a time to make that happen. Integrity for some Nat Geo troubleshooting for Jeremy when you have a moment.
Go ahead.
Jeremy, we have one small troubleshooting request from you. We're hoping it will not take very long, and it'll get us some good data to see what's going on. If you could please, on either Max GoPro, turn it on, and in the bottom left corner of the LCD screen, tap the button that appears there, and see if you can cycle it from video to 360.
Yeah, I can. That's how I've been getting it to 360 mode, is by tapping that.
Okay.
Copy, Jeremy. Thanks. Good data. And then for Reed specifically, but also the entire crew, there is a crew message on board for GoPro exposure adjustments.
Okay, copy. We got a message on board.
One day and 25 minutes mission elapsed time into the Artemis II flight, the first flight of humans aboard the Orion spacecraft. Our crew is NASA astronaut and Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Cook, and mission specialist and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Teams here in Mission Control Houston are preparing for the burn conference, during which they'll call up to the crew the status of the vehicle, any actions they need to take for the translunar injection burn. Translunar injection burn time of ignition.
I've got some AGA ratings for you before we power it down when you're ready.
Thanks, Jeremy. We're ready for those.
Okay, CO2 is only 1.2. O2 is 19.1. Temperature is 73.1. And the pressure is 14.4.
Copy. Great readings. Thanks.
And Houston, just for timeline to sync you up, we've got most things taken care of other than the stuff we told you we've deferred already. The portable speaker, we've got it out, but we're not going to turn it on. We haven't had a need for it yet, and we know there's some ground settings, so we don't want to get into that before TLI. So we'll just leave it. We'll get to it later. And then we do want to get some exercise for Victor later. He didn't get much time on that. Other than that, you have any questions on our timeline?
Thanks for the update, Jeremy. Copy the speaker, and yes, understand Victor, an exercise was cut short earlier today, so we'll prioritize getting him some time this afternoon. Thanks. No further questions.
Okay, excellent.
Calls from the crew aboard Orion down to Mission Control here.
Integrity, Starfield maneuvers are starting in 2 minutes.
Integrity copies.
That's the voice of Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. He was previously working with the National Geographic equipment and on that timeline, troubleshooting some of the camera settings that he was having trouble with. The crew is capturing different facets of their life aboard Orion through that National Geographic timelined activity. Also relaying down the information that pilot Victor Glover didn't really get the opportunity to exercise on the flywheel device as was previously timelined for him today. We do know that Commander Reed Wiseman was able to use that device, so teams here on the ground will look at the timeline and make sure Glover gets to exercise this afternoon as well. 45 minutes now from the translunar injection burn.
Houston integrity, we just want to make sure in step 15 there's no change to the final burn plan.
Jeremy, we do have some small changes to the burn plan. It's currently being uplinked and should be complete shortly.
Okay, copy that.
Integrity, Houston is ready for the burn conference when you're ready.
Okay, we're ready on board. Go ahead.
All right. The final burn plan has been uplinked. It's on board. We have no new vehicle statuses. I have 3 deltas to the burn pad, referencing burn pad with UTC ground generation, 92 days, 17 hours, 40 minutes, 0 seconds. Let me know when you're ready to copy. Integrity Houston, did you copy my last?
Yeah, we did. Well, we copied you talking about the UTC time. We called you, but then didn't hear back, so I'll just start over. We are looking at UTC burn pad that we started with earlier today that we changed to V3. It's day 92 and time is 1740, correct? And we'll save that as version 4.
That's correct, Jeremy. Are you ready for the deltas?
Okay, go ahead, your deltas.
All right, all three are in the guidance solution box. Delta V totes, 1276.3 feet per second. TGO, 5 minutes, 50 seconds. Delta V feet per second, Z direction, negative 276.7.
Okay, we're going to take another second of TGO, and we changed the Z direction, and we got the new delta V tote of 1276.3.
Good read back. And if you can, we'll take a status of the crew power downs for the pre-TLI timeline block.
Okay, power downs are complete, Chris.
Copy, power downs complete. Do you have any questions for us?
We don't have any questions, and I guess we might as well ask you for a go for targeting at minute 31.
You are go.
You can disregard that. We'll just verify it initiates.
You are go. That's exactly right, Jeremy. Expecting that to happen automatically. And integrity starfield maneuvers are complete.
Copy.
Now under 35 minutes until the translunar injection burn time of ignition. Again, we're expecting a 5-minute, 49-second burn on the OMS engine. This stands for Orbital Maneuvering System. It's part of the European Service Module on Orion. This is a live view from Orion looking down towards that European Service Module. You can see one of the solar arrays down in the bottom right. Orion continues to grow closer to Earth, now 5,000 miles away from the planet. At the time of ignition for the translunar injection burn, we will be just 115 miles above planet Earth, and approximately 1,000 pounds of fuel will be burned during translunar injection. Prior to heading to the moon, Orion must be at least one fault tolerant in all of its systems. Mission management team earlier today did poll go that we are ready for the translunar injection burn on time tonight. At this point, Orion has been in an elliptical orbit in contrast to the space station's circular orbit and was previously on the Deep Space Network, the first humans to be on that network in over 50 years. They've transitioned back to the tracking and data relay satellite systems that we are used to seeing for our friends aboard the space station. Earlier today, the crew powered on the rotational and translational hand controllers. These were used yesterday in the proximity operations demonstration when pilot Victor Glover manually flew Orion for the first time. Powering these on allows them to serve as a backup in case the burn didn't last as long or put us in the proper phase. The crew would be able to command small burns from the OMS engine on the service module in order to maintain a proper attitude. But all systems are looking good ahead of translunar injection burn, again scheduled for 6:49 p.m. Central Time.
Integrity, TLT, and orb guide converged. We're taking a look, but initial results are looking good.
Okay, we're just comparing values right now.
Integrity. Houston has completed the poll for TLI. When the engine ignites, you embark on humanity's lunar homecoming arc and set the course to return Integrity and her crew safely home. Houston is go for TLI.
Integrity copies, and your Integrity crew is go for TLI. With this burn to the moon, we do not leave Earth, we choose it.
Integrity copy. Thanks for those beautiful words.
Those thoughtful communications coming from Mission Control Houston and Capcom Chris Birch, NASA astronaut, reporting up to the crew aboard Orion that they are go for translunar injection. Equally thoughtful words coming back down from mission specialist NASA astronaut Christina Cook, ready for translunar injection to fly by the moon and also return home to our planet. We're now 27 minutes until the time of ignition for the translunar injection burn. Orion now only 3,700 miles away from Earth. Again, that'll...
Integrity, we've finished verification of our onboard targets. They look good.
Okay, Chris, our comparison looks good as well.
We copy.
One day, 48 minutes since the liftoff of the Artemis II mission, our 4 astronauts aboard, Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen, all flying aboard Orion, the first flight of humans on this spacecraft. We are 25 minutes away from the time of ignition of the translunar injection burn. This is a 5-minute, 49-second burn on the orbital maneuvering service engine on the European service module. The view on the left side of your screen, looking down towards that portion of the spacecraft, you can see the solar arrays, which gather power from the sun and store that in Orion's batteries. The spacecraft now 3,400 miles away from Earth. That'll continue to decrease until the time of ignition for translunar injection, when the spacecraft will be just 115 miles above our planet's surface. All systems looking good here in Mission Control Houston. Teams have given the final go for Orion. The first of those came this morning from the mission management team here at Johnson Space Center, and the most recent coming from the flight controllers in Artemis Mission Control. You're looking at a live view inside Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Flight control team, specifically the Orbit 1 flight control team on console, being led by Flight Director Jeff Radigan. You've also been hearing the voice of Capcom Chris Birch, a NASA astronaut communicating with the crew aboard Orion. We've also been joined by NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman, sitting in the back of the room, here to monitor the translunar injection burn that will send our crew beyond the moon, the first time humans have done so in over 50 years. Orion is now under 2,800 miles away from Earth. And again, we are 21 minutes away from the time of ignition for the translunar injection burn. Since launch yesterday, that was 1 day and 53 minutes ago, we have been in a high Earth orbit, an elliptical orbit around our home planet. This translunar injection burn is the commitment to flying by the moon and splashing down in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10.
Integrity, tank pressures are good for the burn.
Integrity copies.
Under 20 minutes now from the time of ignition for the translunar injection burn. Teams on the ground reporting good configuration of the Orion spacecraft.
All right, and Houston, we're showing DBDT, it's fluctuating, but 0.0129, and as it's still going positive up to 0.005.
Copy, Jeremy.
And we're watching the Eclipse cabin leak.
Copy,
suspected.
Jeremy. Jeremy, we see DPDT stable. We want you to continue to monitor. Continue to monitor via procedure number 2.1.0.
I just noticed a change in the fan speeds just prior to that.
Copy, Jeremy, and that tracks with our actions here on the ground. We were just changing the ARS state.
Okay, we will continue to monitor this as well with you in parallel, and we'll keep progressing with the burn.
That's a good read back, Jeremy. We're following along with you.
Calls from Mission Control Houston and Orion as they received a cabin leak warning. However, teams on the ground were transitioning the air revitalization at that time. The crew will continue to monitor the status inside the cabin. However, we are still go for translunar injection burn at this time. The solar array wings are in motion ahead of this burn. We position the solar array wings so that there are no loads imparted on them during the burn, keeping them safe from damage.
Integrity, we see a stable cabin pressure. We believe that this is associated with commanding we were doing for ARS, and we will be doing some suspected leak cleanup actions after TLI. For now, we are continuing to press for TLI.
Okay. Crew's feeling good about where we're at right now. That is all tracking, and we are go to continue.
Houston copies. Thanks, Jeremy.
After looking at the data here on the ground, further confirmation from the teams that they believe the warning the crew received was when they switched over the air recirculation system following the exercise that occurred earlier. The cabin temperature and pressure have been reported as stable, and so the crew remains go for translunar injection burn. They'll take some actions to clear that warning that they received after the translunar injection burn, which is targeted to start just about 14 minutes from now. That burn, 5 minutes and 49 seconds, will be on the Orbital Maneuvering System engine, part of the European Service Module. We are now 1 day and 1 hour into the flight of Artemis II. "13 minutes from the time of ignition, Orion just about 1,300 miles away from the Earth's surface.
Integrity, maneuver to burn attitude starting in 2 minutes.
Integrity copies.
Integrity, saws are configured for the burn.
Copy, saws.
The calls you hear in Mission Control Houston coming from Capcom NASA astronaut Chris Birch up to the crew aboard Orion. The solar array wings have been configured into the position for the burn. They are moved forward up toward Orion and away from that orbital maneuvering system engine. This protects the solar arrays during the burn, keeps them safe from any loads that may be imparted from the thruster as it fires. Again, coming up on 11 minutes until the time of ignition, and we are standing by for Orion to maneuver into the burn attitude. Orion now just 1,000 miles above Earth. Just over 10 minutes until time of ignition for the translunar injection burn that will send Orion beyond the moon and commit us to a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10. Approaching 900 miles above Earth's surface, and at time of ignition, Orion will be just 115 miles above Earth, approximately 250,000 miles away from our lunar neighbor. Quiet here in Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, as we approach the translunar injection burn. Less than 9 minutes away from time of ignition of this 5-minute, 49-second burn. Again, the crew received the go for this configuration this morning to proceed with translunar injection from the mission management team here at Johnson Space Center.
Integrity, roughly 1 minute left in our maneuver to burn attitude.
Okay, we show the same.
Orion now 650 miles away from Earth and continuing to be maneuvered to its burn attitude, or its proper positioning for that translunar injection burn. All flight controllers here continuing to monitor their systems, and everyone remaining go for our journey to the moon.
Integrity, Orion is in burn attitude.
Okay, we show the same.
Capcom Chris Birch confirming to the crew that Orion is in the proper attitude, the proper positioning for the translunar injection burn, now less than 6 minutes and 20 seconds away. Orion is less than 500 miles from our Earth. Again, we will watch that tick down to 115 miles above the Earth's surface. Coming up on 1 day and 1 hour and 10 minutes since the launch of the Artemis II mission from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And we've just marked 5 minutes until the time of ignition for the translunar injection burn, which will send us to the moon. Our crew, Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Cook, and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen are all aboard the spacecraft, which is properly configured for the burn. This commits us to leaving Earth orbit and moving beyond the moon. It also is our deorbit burn and commits us to coming home, splashing down in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10. The spacecraft is in the proper attitude, the proper configuration, with its solar array wings swept up toward the spacecraft, allowing the orbital maneuvering system engine, which will conduct the burn, to prevent it from imparting any loads on those solar array wings. This will be a 5-minute and 49-second burn, at which point Orion will be just 115 miles above Earth. It remains quiet here in Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, as teams continue to monitor their systems. Everything's still looking good, and everyone go for translunar injection. Three minutes now until the time of ignition for the translunar injection burn. Orion now 190 miles above Earth's surface, 248,600 miles away from the moon. Continuing to hear good reports from the flight controllers here, Artemis Mission Control in Houston. Orion just 130 miles above planet Earth. As we mark 1 minute until the time of ignition of the translunar injection burn, correction to an earlier report, that will be a 5 minute and 50 second burn on the orbital maneuvering services engine. Mission control is go. The crew is go. You're getting a live view from Orion now of Earth. Ten seconds until translunar injection burn start.
Integrity, good engine, good control.
We show the same. Feels great up here.
At MET, mission elapsed time of 1 day, 1 hour, and 14 minutes into the Artemis II mission. As Orion was flying 115 statute miles above Earth and 247,600 miles away from the moon, we have the start of the translunar injection burn that will send the crew around the moon, the first humans to do so in over 50 years. Again, this will be a 5 minute and 50 second burn on the orbital maneuvering service engine, part of the European service module. Continuing to hear good calls here from Prop in Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas.
Integrity, looking good.
Integrity copies.
Velocity of the spacecraft ticking up, now over 23,900 miles per hour. Two minutes into this 5 minute and 50 second burn. Continuing to get good calls here in Mission Control Houston from all flight controllers.
Integrity, we copy the enabled caution, no crew action.
Okay, integrity copies.
The crew did receive a caution on their screen and have no action at this time. We continue to burn the translunar injection burn.
Integrity, similar caution, no crew action.
Integrity copies.
Over 3 minutes now into the translunar injection burn. These live views coming from Orion as it looks back on Earth, leaving high Earth orbit and beginning its journey to the moon. We are now 230 miles above Earth, 246,500 miles away from the moon. Again, this burn started on time, MET, mission elapsed time, 1 day, 1 hour, and 14 minutes. We are targeting a 5-minute and 50-second burn. We've just hit the 4-minute mark into the burn. Quiet here in Mission Control Houston as flight controllers continue monitoring all systems. Everything looking good. We have 1 minute left in the translunar injection burn. Everything continuing to look good. Again, these live views coming to you from Orion as it looks back on Earth and begins its journey to the moon. And this, a live look inside Mission Control Houston. Flight Director Jeff Radigan monitoring all of the Orbit 1 teams. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman has also joined us in the room to monitor the translunar injection burn. We have less than 20 seconds left of this burn. This is the final major burn for the mission because this also serves as our deorbit burn.
Integrity looks like a good burn. We're confirming.
Integrity copies.
Confirmation from teams here on the ground to the Artemis II crew aboard Orion. We have translunar injection burn cutoff and early reports that it was a very good burn. Orion now 520 miles away from Earth. Just 5 minutes ago, we were only 115 miles above Earth's surface. That distance will continue to increase as we are now on a trajectory to fly around the moon for the first time in over 50 years. Live views from the Orion spacecraft as it looks back on Earth following completion of the translunar injection burn, the burn that commits us to flying around the moon. It also commits us to a return to our home planet on flight day 10 and a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. But for now, these views of Earth as Orion starts its journey. This is Artemis Mission Control. 1 day, 1 hour, and 24 minutes since liftoff of Artemis II. We have just completed the translunar injection burn. Preliminary reports of a good burn. Again, this commits us to flying by the moon and coming back home on flight day 10. We're approaching 1,000 miles away from Earth. Just 10 minutes ago, we were 115 miles above Earth's surface. Since launch, Orion has been in a high Earth orbit. This allowed the teams to check all systems aboard the spacecraft and gain that confidence that for this first flight of humans aboard Orion, we were go for translunar injection and a flight to the moon. That go that came this morning from the mission management team and later this afternoon from the flight control team in Houston. Crew reported that they were go as well, and now we are going. Teams in Mission Control Houston continuing to provide good reports on all systems aboard Orion.
And Houston Integrity, we just wanted to share a little bit of the sentiment up here as we came around the planet, and we're zooming over just 100 nautical miles above it if you got a moment.
Please, Jeremy, we are all ears.
Well, with that successful TLI, the crew's feeling pretty good up here on our way to the moon, and we just wanted to communicate to everyone around the planet who's worked to make Artemis possible that we firmly felt the power of your perseverance during every second of that burn. Humanity has once again shown what we are capable of, and it's your hopes for the future that carry us now on this journey around the moon.
Thank you for those words.
Poignant words coming down from Canadian Space Agency astronaut and mission specialist on Artemis II, Jeremy Hansen. It's his first time to space, and it's the first flight of a Canadian to the moon. Hugs there at the Capcom console from NASA astronaut and Capcom, or capsule communicator, Chris Birch, with Artemis II backup and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jenny Gibbons. We're now over 1,000.
Integrity, 2 minutes until a TDRS West to TDRS East handover.
Integrity copies.
Now over 1,500 miles away from our planet, that distance continuing to increase. You can keep track of Orion's distance from the Earth and to the Moon at any time by visiting nasa.gov/trackartemis. We are currently 242,800 miles away from the Moon and continuing to get closer. We will do so until flight day 6 when we make our closest approach during the lunar flyby. This view coming from Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas, where the Orbit 1 flight control team is on console. Team members continue monitoring the flight of Orion and the systems aboard the spacecraft. coming up on 1 day, 1 hour, and 30 minutes since the launch of Orion.
Houston, integrity, our HC stow is complete.
We recently heard a call that the
Integrity, we copied. RHC stow is complete on TDRS East.
Great, comm check. Houston, integrity, we have lost DU2. It appears it may be power cycling with a DAC message of DU2 comm fail.
Integrity, we copy. We saw that enunciated caution, toggle in and out of alarm. Your go to try and power it up.
And Houston, it was in a power cycle after going down, and it has come back up. We are going to go ahead and understand the prop cautions are no action. They are recurring and going away a few seconds later. We'll stand by for any other troubleshooting words on DU2, but so far it looks like it's nominal.
Thanks, Christina. Good news on DU2. No further actions for you on DU2 reconfig. We'll do any other backside stuff on the ground, and we are taking a look at that prop caution as well.
Copy all, and copy also the good comm check on TDRS.
Yes, Christina, good comm check on TDRS East. And to let you know, we are complete with our post-burn reconfig.
Copy all.
A few different communications with the crew there coming from Capcom Chris Birch. We heard the crew report that they were having an issue with their DU. That's the display unit. There are 3 display units inside Orion. It sounds like one of those is rebooting and powering back up. There were also some propulsion cautions that are being cleared. Additionally, we are still on the Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System, or TDRS, and have handed over to TDRS East, confirming that we had a good voice check on TDRS. We won't be on TDRS for long. We will be switching back to the Deep Space Network as we continue to increase our distance from Earth, now 2,780 miles away from our home planet. Over 3,000 miles away from Earth now.
Integrity, we are maneuvering to the Earth viewing attitude.
Copy, and thank you.
Orion is now being maneuvered into an attitude to allow the crew to be able to see the Earth as they depart it. Again, we are rapidly leaving our home planet and growing closer to the moon, now 240,300 miles away from our lunar neighbor. In about 5 minutes, we will transition from the Tracking Data Relay Satellite System as our primary method to communicate with the crew over to the Deep Space Network. They'll remain on the Deep Space Network all the way around the moon and until they return to Earth.
Integrity, we have completed the cleanup steps from our leak suspected warning that has cleared the board. We've reset FITR, and so now we'll be able to detect any changes per our nominal config.
That's great news, Houston. Thank you.
Capcom capsule communicator NASA astronaut Chris Birch calling up to the crew aboard Orion, also known as Integrity. There was a leak warning that popped up just before we got into translunar injection burn. However, it was quickly determined that this was due to the air recirculation system being transitioned into a different state. All teams remained go for translunar injection as we continued to get good readings inside the cabin, and that warning has since been cleared.
Integrity, 2 minutes to TDRS East to DSN handover.
See you on the other side.
Standing by for TDRS to Deep Space Network handover. We're now handing over to the Deep Space Network and expect to hear some comm checks once the crew is on the other side.
Integrity, Houston, comm check on OE1 on DSN Madrid.
We have you loud and clear.
Copy, we have you the same.
And we are getting just a beautiful view of the dark side of the Earth right now, lit by the moon. Phenomenal.
That sounds amazing. We hope you're taking some pictures for us.
Yeah, none of us can get to lunch because we're glued to the window. We're taking pictures. Reed said he just can't take it anymore.
That tracks. Thanks, Integrity.
We have good communication checks on the Deep Space Network with the crew aboard Orion. Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Cook, and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen, having recently completed the Translunar Injection burn, are now on their way to the moon. The Orion spacecraft was oriented so that they would be able to see out the windows as they departed Earth. We are now 4,687 miles away from our home planet, a number that's continuing to grow and will do so until we fly by the moon on flight day 6. The crew reports beautiful views of Earth as they fly by the dark side, as referred to by Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. They are taking photos that we will expect to see downlinked later on and look forward to sharing. 30 minutes since the start of the translunar injection burn. Again, that was a 5-minute and 50 second burn using the Orbital Maneuvering Service Engine on the European Service Module. This was the burn that committed us to flying by the moon and returning home to Earth on flight day 10. We are now over 5,430 miles away from Earth. At the time of the burn, we were just 115 miles above our home planet. We're 237,000 miles from the moon. This view inside Mission Control Houston as teams continue to monitor the systems aboard Orion. Everything looking great after that translunar injection burn. Orion is also back on the Deep Space Network, which allows us to communicate with the crew as they travel farther away from our home planet. The crew is also in their timelined midday meal, but as we heard from mission specialist Jeremy Hansen, they are all glued to the windows, getting some views of Earth as they depart. This view of visualization of Orion, you can access this at any time by visiting nasa.gov/track Artemis. This is called ARROW, the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website. This is live throughout the mission and allows you to see just how far we are from Earth and close we are to the moon. It's now been 1 day, 1 hour and 50 minutes since liftoff of the Artemis II mission. This is Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston. We are on our way to the moon after a successful translunar injection burn. We are expecting a news conference this evening to discuss the status of the mission at this point, the translunar injection burn itself. That's slated to begin at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. It may get a bit of a delayed start.
Integrity, for your information, the PCL pointer is set to slot 2 for post-TLI.
Okay, copy. Slot 2, on our way.
Again, as I was mentioning, we are expecting the news conference to start momentarily. If you're watching on YouTube, that news conference will air on this channel and you don't need to go anywhere. We will have that available as soon as it begins. In the meantime, Orion continues to increase its distance from Earth, now approaching 7,000 miles away from the planet. We've also gotten much closer to the moon. Just about 15 minutes ago, we were 240,000 miles away from our lunar neighbor, and now we are approaching 235,000 miles away. This is Artemis Mission Control. We are standing by for the beginning of today's press conference about the status of the mission and the translunar injection burn. Completed that 5-minute and 50-second burn. Right on time and put us in the proper position to fly by the moon on flight day 6 and return to Earth on flight day 10. This is Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Again, we had a successful translunar injection burn that commits us to flying around the moon and coming home. Our crew of 4 aboard Orion in their midday meal. And here on Earth, we are standing by for the start of our news conference about the status of the mission. If you're watching on NASA's YouTube, you don't need to go anywhere. We're going to bring that to you right here, and we'll be here in Artemis Mission Control.
The Artemis II mission is a test mission of the Orion space capsule.
Artemis II will be the first time we put humans on this rocket.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars.
We were always going to the moon.
Pushing ourselves to explore is just core to who we are. That's a part of being a human.
And liftoff. We shall return.
Continuing to test out every bit of Orion.
Coming back to Earth, 7 miles a second.
When humanity sets big goals, we can bring together genius from around the world.
You have the best people on planet Earth putting this vehicle together.
That's what's up.
To innovate for the benefit of humanity and to inspire the world through discovery.
And here we go.
Good evening and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, and welcome to our Artemis II status update. I'm Rachel Kraft with NASA Communications, and I'm joined by several NASA managers this evening to talk about our recent translunar injection burn to send 4 astronauts on the Artemis II mission to the moon, and about how the test flight is going